Hello, my friends. Welcome. My name is Joe. This is the Joe Martino Show. And today we're going to talk about what does it mean to validate emotions. I think this is going to be part of a series about parenting and intergenerational relationships and how our expectations have changed over the years and what that means. And maybe we should look at the outcomes and see where we need to keep doing what we're doing and where we need to course correct. Let's kick it off. This is the Joe Martino Show.
You're listening to The Joe Martino Show, a podcast dealing with all things emotional, relational, and human nature. Joe is a licensed counselor in the state of Michigan, specializing in relationship therapy. He is also the author of the book, The Emotionally Secure Couple. All advice offered in this episode is offered for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the show.
Hey friends, welcome to a new year. I hope the new year is going well for you. I hope that you are enjoying yourself. I hope that you are looking forward to what 2026 might be bringing you. And if you're not, well, let's talk about that too, maybe. I want to talk to you today, though, about what does it mean to validate emotions and maybe place that in a broader conversation. My email has been blowing up about parenting issues. And it's interesting because it's not just been emails about parenting young children. There's been a lot of emails about what does it mean to parent my late teens, and we're going to talk about that. I've been emailing back and forth with someone, actually a couple people, and I'm looking to bring those episodes to the show. Last fall, I teased an episode about the coming reckoning for therapists, and that's still coming. I'm not done with it. I've done one, and I didn't like it. Imagine how bad one of those has to be for me to be like, nope, this is out. Because this is a pretty not high-end production, right? Like I have 2 lights that we bought off of Amazon for the people that see it on YouTube, all 6 of them. I have this Blue Yeti mug that I've had so long that if you go to YouTube, if you haven't seen it, you can see how the cover to the microphone is it's been around a minute. I'm more interested in content than I am the fine tuning of that content in this format. I think there's advantages to that and disadvantages to that. But I did get rid of them. For the record, this is my 4th recording of this starting piece to this episode today. And so that is coming too, but today's conversation is part of that because I really feel like there is a lot of therapists and a lot of them are in the school setting. Now, not all therapists in the school setting are teaching this, but there are a lot of them in the school setting. They're just teaching things that are not working, and we're not willing to question that as a field. We're not willing to push back on that. And I really think that a lot of it rests with us, but it does rest with parents too. So we need to talk about that today, and that's what we're going to do. One of my kind of guilty pleasures is I enjoy reading newspapers. My family makes fun of me for it. I am currently not reading any physical newspapers, although that is my preference. So if you wanted to give me a gift, you could gift me a subscription to the Weekend Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, have them both delivered to my house. I think that's part of the fun for me is I enjoy reading. Wall Street Journal is more moderate. New York Times is nowhere near moderate. I read the LA Times. Got my Dodgers hat on today. I enjoy reading a lot of different periodicals, articles. I read a lot of books. And around the new year, there's always kind of like a, hey, how are we doing with our kids and mental health? There's 2 times a year where I have found over the years that it seems to me that these publications really go at that topic. And New Year's is one of them, and then in the middle of the year as well, kind of as we ramp back up for school in most states. And one of the things that, I have a HuffPost article that I saved to my Evernote. I have a New York Times article that I saved to my Evernote. And they're both they both essentially start out with this. Hey, look, what we've done is we have correctly and in a good way, got to get some coffee in there. In a good way, we have devoted more resources, more energy, more time to our children's mental health than ever. And we're actually not doing well. Our children's mental health is actually worse than it's ever been. Numbers continue to climb. And why is that? And invariably, most of those articles go to the phones. It's the devices problem. It's a phone. It's an iPad. It's a TV screen. It's a PlayStation. whatever. And you know what? Certainly the ones that do it well, they talk about the content that the kids consume. And I think that is certainly a very healthy conversation. What they rarely do is stop and ask, have we changed how we teach parents to parent? And some of them do go after that. Some of them actually are like, hey, we have gone after the parents from previous generations, and some of those criticisms were good. Some of those criticisms were beneficial. And maybe we need to change that though a little bit. Maybe we've overcorrected. Maybe we have course corrected too much. And one of them, there was a HuffPost piece that talked about, we have created a grind for our kids that doesn't seem sustainable. And there is this really weird bifurcation. One of my favorite words, bifurcation, basically just split things. There's this really weird split in our society where certainly if you start talking to educators, you start talking to school building principals, superintendents, curriculum advisors, if you start talking to them, they will talk about how many parents don't seem to be willing to make their kids do anything hard. And certainly you're hearing employers complain about this. People are showing up without a hard workplace or without a real good work ethic. They don't do hard things. They don't want to do the things of their job that they don't like, assuming that they should like everything in their job. And, there's a broad conversation around that because we need that. But the other side is how scheduled. There is a segment of kids that we have just so scheduled. We have so put them into the grind. They have to be reading by 4. They have to be third grade proficient by kindergarten. They have to play sports year round, regardless of the fact. And most of the time when I talk to parents about that, they're like, well, I want him to get a scholarship. I think he's really good. I want her to get a scholarship. I think she's really talented. Okay, that's fine. There's like 800 times more dollars in academic scholarships than sports scholarships. 6% of all high school athletes or all high school students will play college athletics. Not just athletes, 6% of all high school students. But even if they're in that 6%, almost all high-level D1 coaches say, don't play sports year-round. It's bad for you. Do something else. Do a play. Do something else. Take a break and rest. And like most things in life, this is one of those things where we have to find the balance, right? We have to find the balance between the two. But because we have conversations that are almost always all or nothing, because we engage in all or nothing thinking so much, we tend to not do that. And one of those is how involved should our kids be? How many activities should they do? What does it mean for them to rest? What does it mean for them to be lazy? And those are hard questions. And I have 3 adult daughters. And when you look back, you're like, oh man, I could have done this differently and I could have done that differently. Okay, that turned out well, but I still could have done it differently. And so this is not a critique of you, whoever you are listening, as much as I really just want to call us all to a broader conversation about why have we changed so much the way we want parents to parents? Why do we want our kids to be so busy? Like, I have a friend who their kids do not play year round. They play travel sports one season and they play a high school sport one season. And they were talking to me about it, and they were talking about how their high school, their students, high school colleagues, their other athletes, those parents are just shocked. They're like, what do you mean you're not going to play in fill in the season? And they respond with, hey, we think we were created to take breaks, to find a natural rhythm. And we think it's better for fill in children's name. And people look at them like they're crazy. Not because those other people are trying to be mean, but because the very normal paradigm of how they operate their life has been questioned. The very normal construct of how their life runs has been questioned. And they've never questioned it before. So their response is like, whoa, mind blown. And we should expect that. That's okay. One of the areas where this is true is in the area of emotional validation, accepting our children's emotions. And you can see that we've gone too far because even the most ardent supporters of it are starting to course correct and go after gentle parenting, which I think we need to have a conversation about that too, but maybe not today. But there are a lot of people who are like, I just saw a video the other day who there's people who were talking about, they're showing a video of a kid just shattered this big flat screen TV. and whoever the person was, it was another counselor, psychologist, or some child expert, said or wrote, we need to stop lying to parents. Gentle parenting doesn't work. I would actually argue whatever that parent was doing wasn't gentle parenting, and that gentle parenting doesn't mean there can't be course corrections offered to our children. So when we start to dig into this, though, what does it mean to validate emotions? I got an email from someone, Stacy, actually from here in West Michigan, and she wrote about how there is this distress in their family over what it means to validate their children's emotions. And she led with, whenever they're having big emotions, I get down on my knees and I want to be on eye level with her 11 or 12-year-old. I don't remember. I think it was her 12-year-old. So I lean in, I look my 12-year-old in the face. And, she went on to say, I parent like you do, less severe, more repeatable consequences, which, yes, I do parent that way, but I don't do what Stacy was doing. And so Stacy and I were talking. Stacy says to me, the problem is my two older children are getting upset with me because I'm not parenting them the same way that I parented. I'm not parenting my youngest the same way I parented them, because I hadn't been exposed to less severe, more repeatable. And that's fine. Like, yeah, that's going to happen. I have parented all of my children somewhat differently as my experience grew. However, we do need to talk about this whole less severe, more repeatable, which I'm a proponent of. Dr. Robert Lehman shared it with me, and I have made it a core value of how I interacted with my children. But we do have to talk about it for just a hot minute. We have to talk about it because here's the thing. It is okay to also have a little bit of flex on that less severe, more repeatable. You can validate your child's emotion and not be okay with their behavior. One of the things we have to learn in our society is you can have an emotion and not respond with it. And as long as you stay within some sort of variance, right? Because we're not going to be on a flat line of emotions. Our behaviors are also not going to be on a flat line of behaviors. So we have to, in some way, coordinate what is the acceptable variance in our system. And we have to convey that to our children. You can have big emotions. You shouldn't have big behaviors that harm other people. And like down to little kids, I was talking to a client just this week, and they were talking about how their 3-year-old got mad at mommy. Mommy went to the bathroom. The 3-year-old took the device that was in his hand and starts beating on the bathroom door because it's got the rubber, like, protect it from falling thing. And the dad was mad at mom because mom didn't come out and hug the little guy. And she's doing her business, right? And I said to dad, why don't you just take the device? Just take it from him. And he was like, well, I didn't want him to get mad. Okay, that's gentle parenting gone wrong. And yeah, that is less severe, like saying, hey, 3-year-old, stop. But that isn't going to work. And we want to teach them to regulate their behaviors. We want to teach them that you can have an emotion, but you can ask yourself what brought you to that emotion. And this starts with going after what is going on in your brain, because that's where your emotions come from. That nebulous thing out there, that mystical thing out there didn't make you feel anything. Whatever it was that was out there, you had a belief about it, and that created your emotion. And that's okay, because that's how we work. The challenge that most of us face is we don't believe that for ourselves. And the proof of that is social media. I can't tell you how many people tell me, oh, I had to give up social media. Why? Because I had to stop reading it because it just made me so mad. No. What you believed about what you read created it, and that didn't change. In fact, you did nothing to help yourself grow there. Now, look, if you want to give up social media, I don't really care. The problem is it won't change the problem, and you can't give up everything. There are people that their entire day will go in a few weeks here. We're going to be kicking. In fact, I think the week that this drops, we will have the football playoffs, the NFL playoffs. And there are people whose entire weekend will be ruined. That was air quotes for people who aren't watching this visually. Or they will be ecstatic because of what 22 or 44 other guys wearing tight pants that they're never going to meet or hang out with, what they did in a game. And they're going to say that game made me. No, 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 no. What you believe is a step in between what happened in that game and your emotion. And probably this comes down to what you believe about you and how you feel and all those things. And we have to start there. Validating your kids' emotions does not mean accepting bad behavior. Validating your own emotions does not mean accepting bad behavior. You don't get a pass for bad behavior because you had big emotions. That isn't how it works. That isn't what drives healthy living. And you have to start with your kids, whether they are 3, 10, 13, 17, or 23. And then the 23-year-old is going to be a little bit different because ideally they're not living at home. But we have to do this as a society. We can say, hey, you know what? I know you're feeling that. And sometimes they're going to be like, yep. And here's where my field, I believe, has really missed this. We have taught in too many parents, it is your job to validate your kids' emotions. And what that means is that you have to say those emotions are legitimate, and you cannot question how they got to that emotion, because they might feel accused or they might feel uncomfortable. And if they don't feel emotionally safe, they're never going to answer you. And so here, take these therapist questions and use them. It's absolute hogwash. Hogwash. It doesn't help. And the proof's in the pudding. The proof is in all the articles that are being put up every December and January about how we are putting more and more and more and more effort into our kids. And it isn't working because we're raising kids that aren't able to question their own emotions. They're not able to question their own thought process on how they got to that emotion. And we need to course correct. We've got to turn the ship because we have more generations coming, and we have to change this. If you are on TikTok and you want to follow me there, I put up videos, I don't know, probably 5 out of 7 days, 6 out of 7 days a week. I'm not going to blow your feet up, and I'm not becoming a TikTok influencer. To be honest with you, I just want to sell books. And one of the ways I do that is I collect followers across social media. Even if I self-publish, which is more and more likely, I don't know that I want to play the publisher's game. Those of you who are listening to this, welcome to a small glimpse of my ADHD-filled brain. But if you want to do that, I am Joe Martino is my TikTok handle. And I actually had a conversation this week with someone who's an ABA therapist. And I actually did a video to her comment where she literally said what I just said. Well, if your kid doesn't feel emotionally safe, they're never going to answer. And I've got nothing against that woman. I don't, but that's what our field teaches. And we teach it like the question why is bad. To look at your child and be like, why did you do that is bad. That's stupid. That's literally stupid. It's not bad. It's healthy. Learning to question why is healthy. Why did I do that? Why did I feel that way? What did I believe that took me to that? Those are healthy questions for adults to ask. And none of our children are going to wake up at 21 and be like, oh, you know what? I should be okay asking myself why. And I had a client with this malady, and I hate that word because it's not a malady. It was ingrained in her. Her mom actually found me. She was 27 years old. She went to college, got her bachelor's, went and got her master's, took 2 years off to go do something around the world, and then came back and she got a job at a business here locally. I won't tell you what it is, but they do a lot of multi-level marketing of household goods. So maybe you can figure it out, Amway. And she got a job there, and her first review, she brought it into me. This was her first session. She brings in her first review, and her boss gave her a bunch of 5 out of 5s, but she gave her 4 3 out of 5s. And one of them was, you're not on time enough, and you don't complete your task enough on time. She couldn't handle being criticized. She was just blown away. I can't believe she said that. And I was like, well, okay, so you're upset. And she literally said to me, it is her job to recognize how much distress or how hurtful is the word she used. I would use distress. How hurtful this review was to me. That's the insanity that comes from we just validate our kids' emotions all the time without questioning them. So a very real question becomes, okay, well, what do we do? I think, first of all, we do recognize that they have emotions, right? And that maybe those emotions are big. So if they're little, right, we can get down at their level, right? Going back to Stacy and we can get down at her level if we want. I don't know that you have to. I think that's a little overrated. I think that's any science that backs that up that I've ever seen, any research, to say that it is tenuous is being really generous. It's really, really generous. It's like saying technically I could possibly get a job with the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. I mean, I suppose it's possible. But we can say, hey, you know what? I recognize that you are having a lot of feelings right now. And you can absolutely call out their behaviors. I have heard of people hiding from their kids because their kid is on a destructive rant and won't stop them. Stop the kid from destroying things. Make them repay those things, right? The video of the kid destroying the big screen TV. I have no idea who that woman is or that kid or the therapist that was putting up the video. But at the very least, the kid ought to have to do something to. Now, that kid's not going to be able to repay. He looked like he was 5 or 6. As I get older, though, I get a little bit less confident in my ability to age young children. But I'll say 5 or 6. So he doesn't have a job. He's not going to be able to go cut the neighbor's grass. But he should have to do some things. But you can enforce consequences to your children. It is okay to say anything along this lines, whether they are 3, 10, 13, or 17, or 23. I understand that you have big emotions. I understand that you're feeling very angry right now. You can name the emotion. I understand that you're feeling very hurt right now. I understand that you're feeling very frustrated right now. And we have standards of behavior that you need to follow. And it is not okay for you to hit mommy. It is not okay for you to take your iPad or your tablet or whatever you call it and hit the door with it and bang on the door. And it is not okay for you to hit your brother, for you to hit your sister. You can literally tell them what isn't okay, but your intervention shouldn't end there. If they're little, your intervention should continue to tell them what they should do. So like, we have a little guy we call our nephew. We're not blood related to him, but we're related to him, if you know what I mean. His mom has worked for us for a long time. His older sister played softball with my youngest daughter, all the things. His older brother, his son's friends with my brother, my son, all the things. And he's almost 2. He'll be 2 in April. He was born April 13th because I picked that day while she was pregnant with him. That's how I remember his birthday, because I was the one who got it right in the office pool. And so he's at a fun age where he'll look at you and, like, if you're like, hey, don't throw that, he'll look at you and then throw it. Okay, hey buddy, you can't do that, right? When we tell you not to throw it, you should put it down like this. Like, you literally show them the behavior that they need to do. That's when they're little, right? He's 3, or not even 2 yet, excuse me. He's not even 2 yet. He's verbal-ish, right? Like, he's not talking yet. He does some sign language and some words. But we can still show him. Like, if he hits somebody, my wife will be like, can you show Aunt Erica kind? And because they've done it enough time, he'll take his hand and he'll rub her cheek, right? And that's kind. As they get older, that's less of a problem. So Stacy, her 11-year-old, would walk by and flick the older siblings, or if their friends were over, would flick them in the ear, would pull their hair, that type of stuff. And Stacy's interventions were like 6 minutes. Not long enough. And what does it have to do with pulling hair? That's always my question. As they get older, if you're going to give artificial consequences, what does it have to do with whatever it is that they're doing? But the on repeat message from as soon as you start having to correct them to the time they leave your house, and even then if you're interacting with them, it comes up. Whatever it is you're feeling, I see that. I see that you're upset. I see that you are, or whatever the emotion is. But you can't do this behavior. Here are alternative behaviors you could do, right? Here's what we expect from you. Talk about the behavior that you want them to engage in. When they're younger, you have to lay it out. Like, show me kind. You have to take their hand, rub your cheek, and all that. As they get older, you can put it on them. What is it that you think would be a better behavior? What do you think would be a better alternative behavior than what you just did? Could you tell me that? And then you lay that out for them. You engage them in the problem-solving process. And here's the thing. Remember earlier I talked about there's that middle step, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, so I've tried to stay away from it today because I know today's going to be a long episode as it is. Can you tell me what you believe about what happened that led to this emotion? Can you tell me what you were thinking? Start that early. So you're upset with me. Awesome. I want you to know that I appreciate you being upset with me. I was talking to a mom. I think she's actually my age. I think she's 51. She's got 4 kids as well. Actually, I think she has the same as us, just different order. 3 girls and 1 boy. And her middle daughter got mad at her this week and like stormed away and then came back and was like, Mom, I'm not mad at you. And Mom's response was brilliant. Mom's response was, actually, you are, and it's okay that you're mad at me, but can you tell me why? And that's the question that goes after, what do I believe about this situation that is driving this emotion? And I can't tell you this, most of the time what happens in therapy is people are talking about something happened and I had this big emotion to it, and they've never developed the pause, slow down, and ask yourself, what do I believe about this? What do I think other people expect of me? What do I expect of myself? What am I expecting of other people in this situation that is driving this fired up emotion of mine or this big emotion of mine? And when we can teach our kids that when they're little, they don't have to teach themselves that as they get older. Now, at some point, it becomes theirs. We pass it off to them, which is why we move our interventions from, okay, Declan, that's the little nephew's name. You can't hit somebody, show us gentleness, to his older brother's Landon, or my son's name is Joey. Okay, clearly you're upset. Right now, I just need you to stop doing whatever the behavior is you're doing. They're both pretty good kids. I don't know that they would do anything, but we're just going to say, I need you to stop punching the wall. I've never seen either one of them do that. Then later, I'm probably going to come back to them. I'm going to come back to them and ask them, what was going on and what did you believe about it? And I'm going to have to craft those questions in a couple different ways, because that's not going to be a conversation that's just going to flow naturally for a 13 and a 15-year-old. And this is true for us too. I am 50-something, 51. I'm told by some people that I don't look that, but my kids tell me I look 71. So I don't know. My friend Big Joe does look 71. So I don't know. Yesterday I got really mad at my wife. We were not in the same location. I was working, she was working, and we were texting, and I got really mad. And I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't yell at her. I didn't call her names. I told her I was frustrated. She told me she was frustrated with me. That's all fine. But most people, if it goes that well, that's where it stops. Last night, as I was falling asleep, I was like, why was I so mad? What did I expect from her in that conversation that didn't happen? And the best answer I have is, I don't know. I think I know what the driving frustration was. Now, here's the thing. I have to circle back with myself, and I have to run that out. What does that mean for me? And I also have to circle back with her and be like, hey, I don't know what you did that I got mad about. Which I guess I couldn't say that, because I do know what happened. I know the pivot point where I went from whatever I was feeling to angry. And a lot of times emotions are complex, right? There's not just one thing. And in this case, I'm going to have to be like, I don't know. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my sugar was goofy. I don't know. I didn't like this. I can tell her that. There are some parts of it. But that's just a regular rinse, lather, repeat aspect of my life. And I'm hoping that it'll be a rinse, lather, repeat aspect of your life. And I'm hoping that you'll teach it to your children. Because validating emotions does not mean that we don't question them. All right, what do you think? A lot of times when I bring this up to people, they push back. I had a pastor one time who was seeing me as a client, and he and I were talking about it. And those should be my easiest sell on this idea, because it's really not all that different from really historical Bible theology. And he pushed back pretty hard. It was pretty interesting to me. What do you think? Where would you push back? Where do you agree? What didn't I cover that I should have? Thanks so much for listening. If you liked this, please share it with your friends. I can't tell you how much that would help me in my pursuit to be able to publish books. All right, we'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please share with a friend. And hey, give us that rating in your podcast store. Until next time, change possible.